Let me take you back to 1962. A young man fresh out of business school stands on a beach in California staring at the vast Pacific Ocean. His mind is racing, not with the sound of the waves, but with an idea so bold, so audacious that it could either make him or break him. That young man is Phil Knight, and his idea? To import high-quality, low-cost running shoes from Japan and sell them in America. Little did he know this idea would become the foundation of one of the most iconic brands in the world, Nike. Phil Knight wasn't just a dreamer, he was a doer. With a $50 loan from his father, he started Blue Ribbon Sports, the company that would later become Nike. But this wasn't a fairy tale. It was a gritty, unpredictable journey filled with risks, failures, and moments of sheer desperation. In Shoe Dog, Phil Knight takes us through the early days of his entrepreneurial adventure. He shares how he traveled to Japan to meet with the executives of Onitsuka Tiger, the company that made the shoes he wanted to sell. With no real plan, no connections, and barely any money, Knight managed to secure a deal to distribute their shoes in the US. But the road ahead was anything but smooth. Knight juggled multiple jobs to keep his dream alive. By day, he worked as an accountant, and by night, he sold shoes out of the trunk of his car at track meets. He was constantly on the edge of financial ruin, often borrowing money just to pay his suppliers. One of the most pivotal moments in the early days was the formation of his team, a group of misfits who believed in his vision. Among them was Bill Bowerman, his former track coach at the University of Oregon, who became his partner and the mastermind behind many of Nike's innovative shoe designs. Together, they faced countless challenges, from unreliable suppliers to fierce competitors. But they never lost sight of their goal: to create the best running shoes in the world. As Knight's small company began to grow, so did the stakes. He faced legal battles, financial crises, and moments of self-doubt. But through it all, he held on to one belief: that if he could just keep running, keep pushing forward, he could turn his dream into reality. And so the journey of Nike began, not with a bang, but with a single step. A step taken by a young man who dared to believe that he could change the world, one pair of shoes at a time. Part 2. The Grind and the Growth as Blue Ribbon. Sports began to gain traction. Phil Knight and his team found themselves in a constant battle to stay afloat. The early days were a whirlwind of chaos. Orders were delayed, money was tight, and the pressure was relentless. But Knight had a mantra: just keep going, don't stop. And so they pushed forward, one step at a time. One of the most defining moments in this phase was the creation of their own shoe. Bill Bowerman, ever the innovator, was obsessed with creating the perfect running shoe. He would spend hours in his garage, experimenting with different materials and designs. One day, he poured rubber into his wife's waffle iron, and voila! The iconic Nike waffle sole was born. This breakthrough not only set them apart from their competitors, but also laid the foundation for Nike's future innovations. But innovation came at a cost. Knight and his team were constantly scrambling to meet demand. They faced production delays, quality control issues, and the ever-present threat of bankruptcy. At one point, Knight's bank called in his loans, leaving him with no choice but to seek out new investors. It was a humbling experience, but it taught him an invaluable lesson. In business, as in life, you have to be willing to adapt and take risks. Despite the challenges, Knight's passion for running and his belief in the power of sport never wavered. He saw running as more than just a physical activity. It was a metaphor for life. It was about pushing your limits, overcoming obstacles, and finding your stride. This philosophy became the heart of Nike's brand identity. As the company grew, so did its team. Knight surrounded himself with people who shared his vision and his work ethic. Among them was Jeff Johnson, the company's first full-time employee, who was instrumental in building Nike's early customer base. Johnson's dedication and creativity helped turn Blue Ribbon Sports from a small-time operation into a legitimate business. But perhaps the most significant turning point came in 1971, when Knight and his team decided to break away from Onitsuka Tiger and launch their own brand. They needed a name, a logo, and an identity. The name Nike was suggested by Johnson, inspired by the Greek goddess of victory. The iconic swoosh logo was designed by a graphic design student for just $35. It was simple, bold, and unforgettable, just like the company itself. With the launch of Nike, Knight and his team were no longer just selling shoes, they were selling a dream. A dream of victory, of perseverance, of pushing beyond the limits. But the road ahead was still fraught with challenges. Legal battles, financial struggles, and internal conflicts threatened to derail everything they had built. Yet through it all, Knight remained steadfast. He believed in his team, his vision, and the power of sport to inspire and unite people. And as Nike began to gain momentum, it became clear that this was more than just a company, it was a movement. Part 3. The Battles and Breakthroughs. By the mid-1970s, Nike was no longer just a scrappy startup. It was a force to be reckoned with. But with growth came new challenges, and Phil Knight found himself facing battles on multiple fronts. One of the biggest challenges was competition. Adidas, the German sportswear giant, dominated the market, and Nike was still the underdog. But Knight wasn't afraid of a fight. He believed in his product, his team, and his vision. And he knew that to win, Nike had to do more than just make great shoes. It had to create a culture. This was the era of the runner's revolution. Running was no longer just a niche sport, it was becoming a lifestyle. Nike tapped into this cultural shift by sponsoring athletes, hosting races, and creating ads that spoke to the spirit of the runner. One of their most iconic campaigns featured the slogan, "There is no finish line." It was a message that resonated deeply with their audience, and it helped solidify Nike's identity as a brand for athletes and dreamers alike. But even as Nike's popularity grew, the company faced a series of crises that threatened to bring it all crashing down. In 1975, the US government imposed a hefty import tax on foreign-made shoes, which hit Nike hard. Knight had to make some tough decisions, including laying off employees and cutting costs. It was a painful period, but it also forced the company to innovate and become more self-reliant. Another major challenge came in the form of legal battles. Nike's rapid growth had attracted the attention of competitors who accused the company of patent infringement and unfair business practices. Knight found himself embroiled in lawsuits that drained both his time and resources. But he refused to back down. He fought tooth and nail to protect his company, and in the process, he learned valuable lessons about resilience and perseverance. Amidst all the chaos, there were moments of triumph. In 1977, Nike introduced the Air Max, a revolutionary shoe with a visible air cushion in the sole. It was a game changer, not just in terms of technology, but also in marketing. The Air Max became a symbol of innovation and style, and it helped propel Nike to new heights. But perhaps the most significant breakthrough came in 1980, when Nike went public. For Knight, it was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, it was a validation of everything he had worked for. On the other hand, it meant losing some of the control and independence he had fought so hard to maintain. As Nike entered the 1980s, it was no longer just a shoe company, it was a global brand. But with success came new responsibilities and challenges. Knight had to navigate the complexities of running a publicly traded company while staying true to the values that had made Nike great in the first place. Through it all, Knight remained grounded. He never forgot where he came from or the people who had helped him along the way. He often referred to his team as his family, and he made sure that Nike's culture reflected that sense of camaraderie and loyalty. Part 4. The Heart of Nike, People and Purpose. As Nike grew into a global powerhouse, Phil Knight realized that the soul of the company wasn't in its products or profits, it was in its people. The story of Nike is as much about the individuals who built it as it is about the shoes they created. One of the most pivotal figures in Nike's journey was Bill Bowerman, Knight's former track coach and co-founder. Bowerman was more than just a shoe designer. He was a mentor, a visionary, and a relentless innovator. His passion for improving athletes' performance drove many of Nike's early breakthroughs. But Bowerman was also a man of principle. He believed in the power of sport to bring out the best in people, and he instilled that belief in everyone around him. Then there was Jeff Johnson, Nike's first employee and the man who named the company. Johnson was the heart and soul of Nike's early days. He was the one who answered customer calls, packed orders, and even handwrote letters to runners, building a loyal community around the brand. His dedication and creativity were instrumental in turning Nike from a small startup into a household name. But not everyone who joined Knight's journey stayed the course. As the company grew, tensions arose and some key relationships fractured. One of the most painful moments for Knight was his falling out with Rob Strasser, a brilliant marketer who had played a crucial role in Nike's success. Strasser's departure was a stark reminder that even in a company built on camaraderie, business could be brutal. Amidst the highs and lows, Knight never lost sight of his purpose. For him, Nike was never just about selling shoes. It was about celebrating the spirit of the athlete in everyone. This philosophy was embodied in Nike's iconic campaigns like the Just Do It slogan, which debuted in 1988. These three simple words captured the essence of what Nike stood for: courage, determination, and the belief that anyone could achieve greatness if they were willing to put in the effort. Knight also understood the importance of giving back. He and his wife Penny became philanthropists, donating millions to education, sports, and community development. For Knight, success wasn't just about building a great company, it was about making a positive impact on the world. But even as Nike reached new heights, Knight faced personal struggles. The relentless pace of building a global brand took a toll on his health and his relationships. He often felt torn between his responsibilities as a leader and his desire to be present for his family. It was a balancing act that many entrepreneurs can relate to, and Knight's honesty about his struggles makes his story all the more relatable. By the time Knight stepped down as CEO in 2004, Nike had become a symbol of innovation, excellence, and inspiration. But for Knight, the journey was never about the destination. It was about the people he met along the way, the lessons he learned, and the legacy he hoped to leave behind. Part 5, Legacy and Lessons, the Soul of an Entrepreneur. As Phil Knight reflects on the journey of building Nike, he doesn't just see a company, he sees a story. A story of dreams, struggles, triumphs, and the relentless pursuit of a vision. And at the heart of that story are the lessons he learned along the way. One of the most profound lessons Knight shares is the importance of embracing the unknown. When he started Blue Ribbon Sports, he had no idea where it would lead. He didn't have a detailed business plan or a clear roadmap. What he had was a belief that if he worked hard, stayed true to his values, and surrounded himself with the right people, he could create something extraordinary. That belief carried him through the darkest moments, when failure seemed inevitable and the odds were stacked against him. Another key lesson is the power of perseverance. Knight's journey was filled with setbacks, financial crises, legal battles, internal conflicts, and personal struggles. But every time he faced a challenge, he found a way to keep going. He often quotes his track coach Bill Bowerman, who used to say, "The cowards never started, and the weak died along the way. That leaves us." For Knight, perseverance wasn't just a strategy, it was a way of life. Knight also emphasizes the importance of staying true to your purpose. Throughout Nike's evolution, he never lost sight of why he started the company in the first place: to serve athletes and celebrate the spirit of sport. This purpose guided every decision he made, from the design of the shoes to the messaging of the ads. It was the North Star that kept him grounded, even as the company grew into a global empire. But perhaps the most enduring lesson from Knight's story is the value of relationships. Nike wasn't built by one person, it was built by a team of passionate, dedicated individuals who shared a common vision. Knight often refers to his team as his family, and he credits their loyalty, creativity, and hard work for Nike's success. He also acknowledges the role of mentors like Bowerman, who believed in him when no one else did, and the importance of giving back to the next generation of entrepreneurs. As Knight looks back on his journey, he doesn't shy away from the regrets. He admits to making mistakes that cost him relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind. But he also sees those mistakes as essential parts of the journey. They taught him humility, resilience, and the importance of learning from failure. Today, Nike is more than just a brand, it's a cultural icon. Its swoosh logo is recognized around the world, and its products are worn by athletes and dreamers alike. But for Knight, the true measure of Nike's success isn't in its revenue or market share. It's in the lives it has touched and the dreams it has inspired. In the end, Shoe Dog is more than just a memoir. It's a testament to the power of passion, perseverance, and purpose. It's a reminder that the road to success is never smooth, but it's always worth traveling. And it's a call to action for anyone who has a dream and the courage to chase it. So what's your dream? And what are you willing to do to make it a reality?